today's show is going to be really different because today's show is something of a mind-expanding experiment because it's about big ideas, your ideas and my ideas. Because what I want to do is I want to tackle something really difficult, and that is, where can audio go from this point forward? What can we do to make that illusion of live music happening in front of us, in our living rooms or over our headphones or whatever? Can we get to the next level? And I want to hear your ideas of how that could happen. And I'm going to make it a little easier on you because I don't want you to be limited by today's technology, because I'm not going to be limited by it, so neither should you. So I want to hear your ideas of where we can go in the comments. And just get wild, get crazy. Anything is permitted in this, in this thought experiment. Because, speaking of thought experiments, yes, there will be an Audiophiliac viewer system of the day later on in today's show. So I prepared you. I think I prepared you for something unexpected. So what I want to do is I want to just completely revamp the whole game. No analog. There's going to be no more analog, no more digital. No, not stereo, not surround sound, not even Atmos. No, all of that is old news. We're done with that. I want to take this much further than any of that possibly could. So what I'm saying is, to be a little more clearer, there are no microphones in this future. No microphones are required to make recordings. No speakers are required to play any music back. Nope. Clean sheet of paper, all new. And what's going to replace all of that? These things. Ears. Yes. So in this future experiment, recording engineers will be not working with hardware or even software. No, they will listen. They will use their ears at, let's say, a recording session, right? They will use their ears to do what ears naturally do, which is capture sound. Now, when you hear something, it's not just your eardrum vibrating and therefore you hear a sound. No, your eardrum vibrates, but it's your brain. It's your brain that interprets what your eardrum hears. So these future PHI engineers will be interpreting, as humans do, the sound that they are hearing. And perhaps there'll be a few engineers present at a session so there can be multiple recordings made of this sound, of this session, right? Let's say it's a symphony orchestra or a rock band or whatever, right? There could be different human engineers there who are hearing it their own way. And as they're listening, as they're running down the tunes, right, that their experiences of what they're hearing are in real time being uploaded. And then later on mixed and mastered and sequenced or whatever we're going to do after the fact. But at the actual, let's call it tracking session, there will only be listeners. And perhaps each of these listeners will have their own take on what it is. And maybe they'll even be their subjective take, right? And maybe they'll also be an objective set of ears, which, let's say, that's kind of what microphones are right now, is they are objective, although colored, but they are objective ears, right? They don't think about the sound, they just capture it. Human beings, there's a lot of processing that goes on in our brain. So anyway, I'm open to anything here, but I'm just saying what is experienced at the session will be recorded by human eardrums and in real time uploaded, and then later mixed, mastered, whatever, processed in any way. But that is the beginning. Taking this listener-oriented approach to recording music. Well, just as when we go to concerts, we give our attention to certain performers, certain parts of the performance we focus in on. Let's say maybe it's a rhythm guitar part, or the way the drummer is hitting the side of his snare drum with a stick or something. Oh, those background singers are doing really interesting stuff. Well, these listener engineers could do the same thing, that they're focusing their attention on these different aspects of the performance, which later on the people who buy these recordings or listen to these recordings will be cued into it. It's basically essentially live mixing, but preserved in the recording, or not. It could be altered later on in post-production. All bets are off. Anything could happen. But I like this idea that we are hearing a gifted listener, which is what engineers are, a gifted listener's take on what's happening in real performance. And with this new super technology, we will be 100% there when we listen to the finished product. We will be in with the band as the engineer was when he or she did the recording in the first place. So again, it's not dependent on this quality of the speakers, cables, anything, right? It's all in our head. We are basically inside the engineer's head, inside his process, his or her process. Yeah, as I'm describing this, I'm getting more and more excited about what the possibilities are for artistic expression, not only for the musicians, but also for the engineers themselves, how they hear, how they take in a performance like they could have never done before. That's my hope for this little fantasy of mine. Now, as for playback, playback will be that listeners, consumers of music, will download those experiences and hear them within their head, without their hearing. So whatever they're hearing acuity is irrelevant, right? They will hear and experience the sound as the original listener did. That's it. So they don't need speakers, they don't need headphones to listen to music in this future scenario. They will experience what those original listeners heard. At these music recording sessions, though, as I said, there could be a few different engineers/listeners, and they could each have their own personality, their own take on what the sound, how it felt at the session, right? So the consumers of this music could then say, oh, I like, Jack's ears. I think he has the best ears. His ears are, let's say, sort of in tune with the way I'd like to hear the music. You could buy Jack's download or mix or something, right? Or Jones or Sally's. Those would all be part of this thing, because me being me, this is a very subjective way of recording sound, right? It's very human, because after all, who are the consumers of recorded music now? Humans, other humans, right? And we buy things not necessarily, or some of us, not because they're perfect, but because of their interpretations. It's why even after photography was invented, people still painted, which were not as clearly as accurate as photographs, but people still love paintings. So yes, even in this future scenario, there would be space for a human interpretation of music being performed, whether it's a piano concerto or rock music or jazz, whatever. I think some version of this is likely to appear. Yeah, I think this is all within the realm, but in the future. Whether it's 50 years or 100 years, who knows? Who cares? I'm not going to be around to enjoy it. All I can do is fantasize, right? But wait, there's more. I do have other ideas of where this can go. And that is, maybe this could also be applied, this technology of the future could also be applied to making movies, making films, right? I mean, that instead of cameras being on the set shooting a scene from a movie, there could be human beings who are viewers, listeners, who are on the set and taking in what's going on, and then that is real-time uploaded and then later sequenced and edited and made into a complete film. Yeah, why not, right? And maybe it could also work in terms of theater, right? That you could have the same thing, which, at least from the way I'm thinking about it right now, would make even more sense for theater, where the listener or viewer is in the theater, sits in a comfortable chair, the ideal distance from the stage, and then takes in the entire performance. And then when the person buys the download of that experience, they can experience it exactly the way that original viewer, listener experienced it in the theater itself. I'm thinking big, right? I don't want to be bound by any limitations. So that's what I have. That's what I have so far. Where this all leads, probably nowhere. And I certainly won't be alive for anybody to say, Steve, you nailed it back in 2023. You got it perfectly. Well, maybe. Speaking of fantasy becoming real, yes, here it is. Absolutely, positively. The Audiophiliac viewer system of the day. Hey, this is Steve's system, and it is a DIY spectacular. Now, those speakers are licensed replicas of Jim Carfree's Little Bighorns. Now, the originals were backloaded horns that were made from a combination of bent ply and hardwoods. Steve is doing it different. His were made with the same geometry from a kit with CNC machine parts, and then Steve did everything else himself. The speaker's full range driver is an EX4, that's a Lowther, and they are being driven direct from a bridge pair of Amp Camp amps designed by Nelson Pass. And also the preamplifier in the system is a NewTube preamp and he got that kit from DIYaudio.com. All of this is being driven with custom linear power supplies. There's a native streamer in the picture that's bricked. I don't know what that means, but he's running Tidal from Apple TV through a Cambridge DAC Magic Plus for now. The analog part of the system is also DIY. It's a kit designed by Nelson Pass. It's called the Pearl 2. That's under construction. Then there's a Sugden SD1 CD player and a Marantz cassette deck. Turntable, get back to the analog. The turntable is a customized System Deck 11X. Now the stand is homemade from 2 coffee tables. Thank you, Steve. That's fantastic. So I could be in your dream. You can be in my dream. Who said that? Anyway, my name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the Audiophiliac, and I am a dreamer, no doubt. The older I get, the more I'm dreaming. I did plenty of dreaming as a kid, but I'm dreaming more and more now. Anyway, if you like my dreams, if you like these videos, please consider joining and supporting my Patreon. To do so, super easy to do. The address is on the screen right now. Patreon accepts payment in dollars, pounds, and euros, and actually pretty much every other currency at this point. So it's out there for you, for your consideration. If you like a given video, including this one, please remember to hit the like button. And if you have yet to subscribe to this channel, please do so. And with that, I can say my work here is at last 100% complete. Thank you for watching, and I really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.